absolutely superb. Now that is what I call a bounce. If she call me daddy, you know she got a fatty. Guys, this is huge. We have so many key things to talk about in response to yesterday's video. Exactly bullish scenario mode is exactly what we're receiving today, but we are still on the cusp of some very important price targets we have to mention in this video. As of now, climbing above that 21 moving average, but we will get a close, a weekly close and a daily close tonight, guys. Very key. Okay, this is huge going into this next week. What does this mean? Is this bounce confirmed? We have to take a look at this. Some key levels that Bitcoin has since consolidated around after getting that nice bounce late last night. Okay, we have to talk about that as well. Guys, the leading indicator, that Litecoin that we talked about for the last few videos, the turnaround that we started to see over the last 2 days actually is confirmed, and Bitcoin did follow. So I would say that as a confirmation there. A lot more things to cover, but as well, that weekly moving average. Guys, we talked about all of the room that we had below us, that this would still remain healthy. So we can talk about that in this video as well. Everything so far, Bitcoin is remaining on track. And again, even if we still did get that pullback that we've been talking about as a possibility, we have so much room to go, so much health. So guys, why don't you take off your shoes while we look for some clues? I hope you cannot refuse. Wow, let's get into this episode. Wow, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another exciting Sunday update. This time, this episode is actually on a Sunday, guys. Huge updates to get into this video. We have so much we really want to delve into with these charts. Okay, as of right now, we're seeing a very bullish sign, bullish scenario number one so far. But again, we are in some key trying times. We need to make sure this holds. We cannot get our panties ahead of us. We have to actually remain calm, cool, collected. And as always, I have my juice here. People think that I joke that I drink Capri Sun, but in fact, I am actually a man who does enjoy his juice from time to time. Hey guys, we really have so much to get into. So, you know, if you guys are new, we're still doing these giveaways. All you have to do to enter for these ledgers is leave a comment below. And guys, if you're new, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, ding that bell. And without any further ado, let's make this intro short and we can just jump into the juice and tomatoes of this video, in today's video. So guys, I want to start out here on this chart. We're actually getting a bounce. Now this is key. We can actually start out with this. I find this most interesting. We're getting a bounce right at the 0.786 right here. Okay, we came all the way down and almost dipped our toes into this sparkling wet water of the 0.618 and the 0.65. The mega gooey zone right here, this is where there has to be support at the very lowest in many cases for a short-term bounce. And then we can actually transition to other charts and talk about absolute worst case. But again, guys, this is a very bullish time, so let's remain very bullish right now. So this is the key right now. This is the absolute key, this 21-day moving average right here. Okay, we fell through it over the past week, but now we're actually bursting through it as Litecoin indicated yesterday. Now this is key. If we get a close, we're going to be having our weekly close tonight, and as well with every single day, we have the daily close. So that's going to be key here. But on the weekly chart, as you can see here, we're going to be getting a close here. Now this will end up being a red week if we don't, obviously get above 10.5, which is not really likely in the next like 4 hours, okay? But again, this is looking extremely good, and as long as we remain above some of these key levels, I do think, usually actually what we do is you come back and test this anyway. So this is actually really good to be above this, the 21 week moving average, the most key level here. And if we're able to bounce where we currently are, then again, this remains extremely bullish. We really want to see how this thing plays out, but so far, really good. Again, the 0.786 on these Fibonacci is absolutely beautiful to see it maintaining that, as well as the very tippy top of this pattern. Again, we do have this wick, which we cannot count out, okay, and that's very critical. So we can actually explain a little bit why this is actually so critical. Even though this wick, we were up here in this price, obviously way less than 12 hours, we were barely up in this range back in October of 2019. This is huge because this is apparently exactly where we got up to, the 10.5 here, okay? This whole area here before we actually got pushed back down a little bit to see if we can continue up and test this again. Now again, even on this chart here, we only wicked up here 2 times in 2 days. We did not spend a lot of time up here. We tried for 2 entire days to really try and break this, but again, we were not able to on this chart back in October. So again, this is the high that we want to get above. We kind of got rejected here, but as we transition to other charts, you can kind of see it's a little bit different on some of these charts here, and we have to factor in a lot of different things. So let's actually transition here to this pattern that we've been talking about for weeks and weeks now, okay? We're actually getting a little bit of a bounce right now. You can see that here on the potential cup and handle pattern that we have forming here. And again, very, very key, absolutely beautiful to see this 21 moving average, again, getting above. Now, we've seen it bounce constantly off of this on this uptrend, okay? Mainly here, spent like 3 or 4 days there. And again, now we actually broke through it, but we're trying to get above it now. If we can actually cement this, I definitely think a run to test back and break this is absolutely key. And even more importantly, on this bigger time frame, I do think this is something we need to keep in mind. I haven't talked about this too much on the channel, but because it's a rather new thing that I put on here, but this sloping resistance line, okay, it's actually lower than it was when we first tested it back about 10 days ago on February 13th, February 11th, around that time. So right now it's actually about $100 less than it was. And if we're actually able to shoot back up here and break this, I think on a longer time frame, that's going to provide a lot of support if we're able to break through this, and it'll make this thing go a lot higher much quicker. Okay, so as this thing's been going down, obviously we get rejected right here, which is coincidentally, according to this downward sloping thing, also exactly where this high was right here. So that's very important to watch out for. Okay, extremely exciting because now it's slightly lower. It's about 2 weeks almost after this, and now this is sloped down a little bit. So if we come back to retest this, not only will the resistance get weaker the more we test it, if we come back up here again, which is only less than $1,000 where we currently are, if we can get another boost to get above this and break that, come down, test it, I think that'll be really strong. And again, eventually, I think that'll exactly what'll set us up to break that 13.8, guys, that we've been talking about. That's really the key level to break for this entire macro pattern. Absolutely huge to get above. So we really want to see if we can keep this momentum. Even if we stay exactly where we are today for the next, 10 hours or so, that would be beautiful. We would love that. Get a close and just cement some support on this line, okay? So that's what we're watching and waiting for there. But again, on this chart, I absolutely think besides this potential cup and handle forming and this blast off moon target that we're actually waiting for, I think this sloping resistance line is incredibly important. Okay, the more we test that, the better things are going to look, and the weaker it's going to get, and the more likely that I think we can get above this. So let's actually now transition to this. We can look on the hourly chart and really just get a nice picture of what's been going on these small time frames, guys. So last night, okay, you can see these hourly charts. Within about 3 hours, we go from 96 to 99, so $300 in about 3 hours, so almost $100 an hour there, and we find some resistance right now for the time being right here. Now right here is kind of where previous resistance was before we broke out of this up to breaking the 10K level. So again, we're right on the cusp of that. If we're able to break that, I think the next resistance again would be right around maybe that like 10,200, and then really 10,400, 500, and then after that, if we can actually just zoom through some of that, which I think is the move that we might have playing out here. Okay, if we can actually zoom through some of that, then we start talking about 11K, and then we're basically really just talking about all-time highs. Remember, guys, we did not trade at 20K for very long. 20K is not going to be, like I said, like I've been saying for weeks, I don't think if we're at $17,000, we're going to be doing this at $17,000. I think at $17,000, we're going to be either flying past it or, touching that area. Honestly, I think if we're at 17,000, I think we're just going to be flying past it. There's no resistance. There's like no price action at those levels. And if we're able to break these key levels on these lower prices, like the 11, 12, 13K, then numbers like 16, 17, 18, I don't think they're going to mean anything. I think at that point we're going to be shooting past, okay? I think that's going to be, we're going to get out of the muddy gooey zone and we're going to be blasting off. And the last chart I really want to look at here is this daily chart. I think this is absolutely important here. So after getting that bounce on this channel as well, absolutely key right here, you see 4 days in a row, actually 5 days in a row of higher lows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Absolutely actually a beautiful thing going on here. That's actually a very bullish setup, a very bullish situation. And again, we're pushing back above this 21-day moving average, which is just the absolute most key thing that there is. So this is absolutely beautiful to see. We're actually making a lot of progress, and this is actually really optimistic for the market. I'm very excited about this. Now remember, really the only historical resistance we have here in relation to this last run where we broke out towards the end of October in these few massive daily candles. You guys remember this? Probably the biggest candles. I think they were in like the top 5 biggest Bitcoin candles ever in a single day. What is this? 7,429 all the way up to, $10,000 in 2 days. So that was split in 2 days. The one candle, in fact, was 7,400 to 8,800, so about $1,400 in one candle, which is absolutely wild to think about. Again, if we can break this right here, this high, then again, I think the 12, 13, and 14 are right in our sights. Now, we got rejected off this once, okay? Remember this, guys, because it did wick all the way up to here, so that's why I have this box drawn on here. You see it really just tried and it did get above it slightly, but it got pushed right back down the daily chart. So again, if we can make a run back up to here, okay, and this is why I think it gets weaker and weaker as time goes on, because we have this upward sloping channel where resistance theoretically should be getting less and less as the time goes on if this channel is valid, and it'll be more retests at the same spot. Like we just mentioned, that'll make this weaker and weaker. The more we keep testing it, it's trying to make that weaker and just really wants to break through it. It's showing the market wants to go above it. Again, we saw that here. We've seen this consistently throughout this uptrend over the past few weeks since the beginning of the year 2020. So guys, this is huge. I'm very optimistic if we can remain above this 21, if we can get a close today, very key, weekly close here, and then if we can just maintain that for a day or two, that's absolutely beautiful. We don't even need to go much higher than we are right now for a few days. We could hold this, and that remains extremely bullish for me. If we can hold this, then I think we can remain extremely optimistic. So as long as we don't have another one of these, guys, as long as we don't have some of the big boys coming in and just being like, you know what, boom, let's go down $600. As long as we don't have people doing that and just smashing us in, guys, then I think things are looking beautiful and things are great. So guys, thanks so much for tuning in to this exciting episode. Wow, now this is where the fun begins.